gym bro who picked the wrong guy. He grabbed my wrist to show the whole bar what weakness looked like. Then he shoved me into the counter and told everyone I was a creep who couldn't take a hint. When I tried to just calmly finish my drink, he slapped my glasses clean off my face and said, "You look 12, bro. Go back to daycare." I stayed relaxed, didn't flinch, didn't react. That was 8 days ago. Last night, his friend sent me a video of him crying in a parking lot after watching security footage of that same night go viral. Let me back up, because none of this makes sense unless you understand exactly how wrong he was about me. I'm 57, 140 pounds. I don't look intimidating. Never have. So when drunk guys at bars want to show off in front of a woman, I'm an easy target, the safe one to push around. I'd been chatting with a brunette at the bar when a 62 gym bro marched over, wedged himself between us, and turned his back to me completely, like I was furniture. "Let me get you a real drink, beautiful," he said, flagging the bartender. "Not whatever this little guy was boring you with." She glanced past him, clearly uncomfortable. He kept talking over her, ordering her a martini she never asked for, then finally acknowledged me with a dismissive glance. "You can go now, buddy." I didn't move. He leaned his weight into me, pressing me against the counter's edge. I stayed put, sipping my beer. He turned fully toward me, disgust plastered across his face, and asked if I was deaf. I said calmly that I was just finishing my drink. His hand shot out. My glasses clattered across the bar top. Everything blurred. He made jokes about my height, told the girl maybe that's why I hadn't gotten the hint. I stayed still. 10 years of taekwondo had taught me one thing above all else. Real fighters don't fight in bars. Too much liability. My certification, my gym, potential lawsuits, all of it gone over some drunk stranger's ego. I calmly walked around him, retrieved my glasses, and sat back down. That's when he spun to face the whole bar and announced loudly that we had a creeper situation, pointing a beer bottle at me, claiming I'd been harassing her for an hour. She tried to protest. He talked over her, put a possessive hand on her shoulder, and she flinched. Half the bar was watching now. Whispers, suspicious look. 2 years as a regular at this place, and my reputation was being demolished in real time. Then he decided to demonstrate my weakness, grabbing my wrist, squeezing hard against the pressure point, yanking me off the stool to show the girl what real danger looked like. He shoved me back against the bar. Not hard enough to be assault, hard enough to make his point. I stayed relaxed. No aggressive stance. Nothing to justify what he clearly wanted. He turned back to the girl to keep painting his little hero narrative. She stood up, said she was leaving. He grabbed her wrist. She told him, firm but scared, to let go. He didn't. Tightened his grip instead, smiling the whole time, insisting he was just being a gentleman. That's when something shifted in his eye. The drunk bravado turned into something uglier. He yanked her against him, ignored her protests, grabbed her other wrist too, and looked at me with cruel satisfaction, like he was making a point about what happens when weak little boys can't protect anyone. I moved, broke his grip on her wrist with a simple redirection technique. "Walk away," I told him. He shoved me. I let the momentum carry me back, but stayed on my feet. She scrambled behind the bar. The bartender was already on the phone. He charged like a bull, throwing a wild haymaker. I slipped it. He stumbled, swung again, missed again. I ducked, pivoted, weaved, never once striking back, just letting him exhaust himself, throwing punches that hit nothing but air. The crowd formed a circle, phones out, recording. Security arrived. He instantly switched tactics, hands up, all innocent, spinning a story about how he'd just been trying to help, and I'd been the one harassing her. His buddies backed him up loudly from their corner table. But the brunette spoke up, shaking, and told security what actually happened. The bartender confirmed it. Other regulars, people who'd watched me be a quiet, harmless fixture there for 2 years, spoke up too. His story fell apart in real time, his friends going quiet one by one. Security walked him and his crew out. He looked back at me on the way, a look that promised this wasn't over. I made sure the brunette got to her car safely, then went home, thinking that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, 6:30 a.m., I was running my regular class when the front door slammed. He walked in, stone sober, jaw set. My gym's name had been on my shirt at the bar, easy enough to Google. He demanded a real fight. No witnesses. I declined, asked him to leave, so he started a campaign instead. First, a month-to-month membership. Legally, I couldn't refuse him without cause. He showed up to every single class after that, sitting in the back, silent, just watching, never participating, just starring. My students noticed. Some stopped coming. Parents dropping off kids for youth classes hesitated at the door. My afternoon class shrank from 15 kids to 8, then 5. He never said anything overtly threatening, just showed up, paid his fee, and watched. When I confronted him directly, he'd smile and offer to take private lessons, mockery thinly veiled as politeness. Then it got personal. Dinner with my girlfriend Sarah. He showed up at the same restaurant with a date, sat where we could see him, whispered things to her that made her glance our way and giggle. Followed us out afterward, calling my name, asking to meet my lady friend. Sarah gripped my hand tighter all the way to the car. Next came the social media. Old photos with my family. Comments like nice form on training videos. videos. Beautiful couple on photos with Sarah, nothing overtly threatening, just enough to prove he was watching, documenting every connection I had. My phone buzzed constantly. Sarah started getting friend requests from accounts with no profile pictures, all carefully worded, all clearly connected to him. I considered the police, but what would I even report? A guy attending my public business, liking my public photos. No direct threat, no physical contact since that night. He was playing a longer game and it was working. My business kept bleeding. Word travels fast in a small community. Parents hold kids. Adult students found excuses for break I knew were permanent. My morning class went from 12 regulars to 4. His friends escalated too, showing up as day pass guests, mocking a 12-year-old student named Marcus in front of the class. I asked them to leave. They argued they'd paid, they weren't breaking rules. Marcus's parents pulled him the next day. They were right to. At the grocery store, he appeared at the end of our aisle, made a big show of introducing himself to Sarah, laughed when she wouldn't shake his hand, followed us at a distance through the whole store, got in line right behind us at checkout. Sarah's hands shook the whole time. That night she broke down, said she couldn't handle constantly feeling watched. I started documenting everything, every appearance, every comment, every interaction, building a paper trail, even though documentation felt painfully passive while he actively dismantled my life piece by piece. Then, graffiti on my gym's front window. A new MMA gym opening soon, flyer papering the neighborhood, promising real fighting, not dancing. The contact voicemail unmistakably his voice, using a fake name. 2 more students quit. Sarah moved in with her sister, needing space, needing to not wonder every day when he'd show up. I knew I had a choice to make, find a way to end this without violence, or watch everything collapse completely. He'd been careful, calculating, every move designed to provoke while staying just inside legal lines. I needed to be smarter, turn his own tactics back on him. The breakthrough came from Victoria, one of my 4 remaining morning students who worked in social media marketing. She'd noticed the fake accounts targeting Sarah and offered to trace them, metadata, posting patterns, connections. Within hours, she'd linked the fake accounts directly to his real profile. That gave me an idea. If he wanted to play games with documentation, I could too. I started recording every class for instructional purposes, footage that happened to capture him sitting in back, his friends' disruptions, the uncomfortable atmosphere they created. I edited it into training videos, posted them with captions about staying focused despite distractions. My students shared them, adding their own comments about the environment. Parents who'd pulled kids started asking questions again. He noticed within days. His response, more friends, louder disruptions, but now it was all on camera. Victoria found his routine too. Gym mornings, protein shake at the same shop, lunch at the same sports bar, broadcasting his location constantly on social media without realizing it. I reached out to the brunette from the bar through the bartender. She was still shaken, but willing to help. She'd kept screenshots of messages he'd sent afterward, alternating between apologies and accusations. She'd also talked to other women with strikingly similar experiences. A pattern, one bigger than just me. Then Sarah called, crying, her tires slashed outside her sister's building. No cameras, no witnesses. She wanted to move home to her parents. I convinced her to give me 1 more week. The next morning, my gym's lock glued shut, protein powder spread across the mat, a call from my landlord about noise complaint. I was running out of time, but I'd been building more than a paper trail. Victoria connected me with other business owners who dealt with him before, a coffee shop owner who remembered a similar harassment campaign against a competitor, a sports bar manager with stories of fights he'd started and blamed on others. An informal network began to form, sharing information. This wasn't his first campaign. He always stayed just inside legal lines. He just never faced coordinated resistance before. Phase 2. Instead of avoiding the places he frequented, I started showing up. The sports bar during lunch, visible, calm, chatting with staff. His friends whispered and pointed. I acted oblivious. One day his whole crew surrounded my table, mocking my food, my size, my training. I just kept eating, nodding along like it was friendly conversation. Other patrons noticed the one-sided dynamic. One of his own friends eventually pulled him aside, nodding toward the security cameras. They left shortly after, not before he accidentally knocked over my water glass. The manager comped my meal and confirmed the footage was saved. My classes started recovering. Former students returned, having seen the videos. But then Sarah called again, a fake dating profile using her photos, listing her sister's actual address. That crossed a line I couldn't ignore any longer. Victoria discovered he worked as a trainer at a high-end fitness club across town, one that prominently featured him in its marketing and prided itself on a professional code of conduct. We compiled everything: the gym footage, witness statements, the harassment timeline, the fake accounts, a clean, fact-based package, and sent it to his employer. He showed up at my door that evening, pounding, screaming that I was going to get him fired and ruin his life. I didn't answer, just recorded through the window. My neighbor called the police. He left before they arrived. The damage was done. His workplace suspended him pending investigation. Without that income, gym. He couldn't keep paying day pass fees to harass my classes. But he wasn't finished. More fake profiles targeting Sarah, late-night prank calls to my gym, unordered pizza deliveries. Increasingly petty, increasingly desperate. I kept documenting, kept teaching, kept rebuilding. The fitness club's investigation turned up multiple prior complaints from female members, complaints that had been ignored or minimized for years. My documentation was the final piece. They terminated him and banned him from every facility they operated. Word spread fast through the local fitness community. He showed up at my gym one last time, this time with a lawyer, who handed me a cease and desist letter accusing me of defamation and harassment. The irony wasn't lost on me. I handed it straight to my own lawyer, a friend from my morning class who'd watched the entire saga unfold. She laughed at its numerous holes and drafted a response outlining the documented harassment, the witnesses, the evidence, and a pointed mention of the criminal complaints I could file if it continued. The fake profiles stopped within days. The calls stopped. His friends stopped showing up. Sarah slowly came back around, moved home, installed new locks and a security system. We were both more cautious now, also somehow stronger. I learned he'd relocated to another city for a fresh start. Victoria kept tabs on his social media anyway, watching for patterns. Within months, eerily similar stories started surfacing from his new location. Another gym owner reached out, having heard what we'd done. I shared everything. The network kept growing. Business owners, mostly women, trading strategies for dealing with exactly this kind of harassment. What started as one man's grudge had accidentally sparked a small, quiet community response to a much bigger problem. 6 months after that night at the bar, I ran into the brunette again. She thanked me not just for that night, but for following through. She'd taken up Krav Maga since. We laughed about that. My relationship with Sarah had grown stronger through all of it. She started taking classes at my gym, not to learn to fight, but to understand the discipline that had kept me steady through the whole ordeal. My teaching changed to more situational awareness, more real-world application beyond just physical technique. The informal network had by then compiled a genuine database, screenshots, videos, witness statements from dozens of people across 3 cities, plus a documented trail of gyms and fitness centers he'd left under suspicious circumstances. I made a decision that went against every instinct my training had ever given me. Instead of continuing to avoid confrontation, I'd create the conditions for him to destroy himself completely. We announced a women's self-defense workshop, knowing he wouldn't resist the chance to disrupt it. The night of the event, Victoria and several network members positioned themselves outside with clear sightlines. The coffee shop across the street, a parking garage next door, cameras ready. He showed up right on schedule, but smarter this time, entering quietly with 2 new accomplices, all dressed like regular attendees, spreading out to block exits while maintaining plausible deniability. I kept the workshop introduction going, monitoring their movements. The nervous beginners in attendance were actually martial artists from allied schools who'd volunteered to help. His confidence grew as he clocked what he thought were easy targets. The disruption started small, loud stretching, unnecessary shadow boxing near the entrance. He approached the demonstration area, offering to help show realistic attack scenarios. I declined. He pushed closer anyway, his friends flanking the group, positioning obviously coordinated now. Phones came out, nervously, actually capturing every angle. He reached for one of the volunteers to demonstrate a grab technique, ignoring my clear instruction to stop. That's when the trap closed. The woman he grabbed was a nationally competitive judo black belt. His attempted wrist control turned into an immediate reversal that sent him stumbling backward. His friends rushed in. The other beginners responded with trained precision. No strike, just controlled defensive movement to hold space. The entire thing streamed live to our private network, undeniable evidence of coordinated aggression against a women's safety class. His expression ran through rage, embarrassment, calculation, and finally desperate aggression. He charged straight at me, done with subtlety. I used simple footwork to keep distance while he chased me around the mat, his friends trying to box me in. Victoria had already called the police, reporting an active disruption. Other network members called too, from different locations, guaranteeing a fast response. Every second of the chase was captured from multiple angles, a clean, undeniable aggressor versus victim sequence. When he finally cornered me against the wall, fist raised, breathing hard, I didn't need to defend myself. Sirens were already audible. His friends heard them too and started backing toward the exit, straight into network members outside, documenting their faces and license plates as they fled. His final mistake, grabbing my shirt and cocking back for a punch just as the first officer walked in. No ambiguity, no question of who was the aggressor. He was arrested on the spot, witnessed by multiple officers and captured on even more cameras. He tried claiming it was all a setup. The footage said otherwise. My students revealed their real credentials when asked, explaining the volunteer safety demonstration. The next morning, Victoria published the full documentation, not to viral platforms, but to a curated network of fitness fitness professionals, gym owners, and instructors. His entire history across multiple cities, dozens of witness statements, clear predatory behavior at a women's safety event. Within days, he was banned from every reputable gym within 100 miles. His old employer's own investigation turned up former staff coming forward with additional complaints. His employment there ended too, no references, and a reputation that now preceded him everywhere in the industry. My gym recovered. Sarah came home. The handful of students who'd stuck with me through the worst of it became my most dedicated practitioners, and new ones joined after hearing what had happened, drawn, oddly, by a story about an instructor who held to his principles even under sustained pressure. I learned something that 10 years of tournaments never quite taught me. Real strength isn't about physical dominance. It's patience. It's documentation. It's the discipline to stand your ground while someone else exhausts themselves swinging at air. He taught me that lesson better than any instructor ever could, though I'm fairly sure that wasn't his intention. People ask me sometimes if I do it differently, given the chance to go back to that first night at the bar. Part of me wonders if just leaving quietly, the moment he wedged himself between us, would have saved months of chaos. But another part knows guys like that don't stop at the first target. He would have found someone else to corner, someone who didn't have 10 years of training telling them to stay calm, someone who might have swung back and ended up the one in handcuff or worse. Financial hit was real. Between the lock repairs, the mat cleaning, the 2 months of reduced enrollment, and the legal consultation fees, I was down nearly a full quarter's revenue by the time it was over. I dipped into savings I'd been building for a second location. That plan got pushed back by at least a year, but watching my morning class fill back up to 14 regulars, 3 more than before any of this started, made it feel like something had actually been repaired, not just patched over. Victoria eventually turned the informal network into something more permanent, a small, invitation-only resource group for independent business owners dealing with targeted harassment, mostly other gym owners, a few salon owners, a couple of independent contractors who'd had similar experiences with escalating customers. It's not glamorous work. Mostly it's spreadsheets, screenshots, and long email threads at midnight. But 3 separate people have told me it helped them recognize a pattern early enough to protect themselves before things spiraled the way mine did. Sarah and I got engaged the following spring. She still trains at the gym twice a week, not because she needs to defend herself, she says, but because she likes understanding exactly what I do all day, and because it makes her feel steadier walking to her car at night. I don't think either of us will ever fully lose the habit of checking who's around us in a parking lot. Some things don't go back to the way they were before. You just learn to carry them differently. The brunette from the bar and I still talk occasionally. She sends updates from her Krav Maga classes, usually with some joke about how she's going to outspar me one day. I don't doubt she will. She's been training harder than most people I've taught in years, and I think some of that intensity comes from the same place mine does now. The memory of standing frozen for just a second too long and deciding never to feel that powerless again. As for him, the last update Victoria found was a job listing bio at a gym 2 states over. No mention of his old employer. No mention of any of it. I don't know if he's changed. I doubt it. But he's someone else's problem to document now, and there's a network out there that knows exactly what to look for if he starts again. Every so often a new student walks into my gym looking exactly like I used to. Quiet, unassuming, easy to underestimate. I make a point of telling them the same thing my instructor told me all those years ago. The lesson that actually held up under real pressure. In a bar, in a harassment campaign, in a parking lot with sirens closing in. The best victory is the one where your opponent defeats himself. You just have to be patient enough and disciplined enough to let him. Like and subscribe for more videos like these. Thanks for watching.